Thank you. Thank you. Coming up here, Tony Gonzalez said that he'd forgotten to mention that, like me, he's a veteran, and that I should mention that. Well, unlike me, Tony Gonzalez is one of the very few people in this country who's not the descendant of immigrants in this nation of immigrants. So I'm proud to be following him here. 40 years ago in May, I had the honor of being in an affinity group with Howard Zinn as part of 20,000 people in Washington who, with the motto, if they won't stop the war, we'll stop the government. Well, 20,000 weren't enough to stop the war right then. We got beaten and maced. The next day, I was at the back of a crowd in Boston Common, or 2 days later actually. Howard got arrested in May Day. 2 days later, I'm in Boston Common hearing Howard say this. 2 days ago, he said, we were charged with disturbing the peace. He said, but there is no peace. Their problem is that we were disturbing the war. Now, for saying that and saying a few other things that the police didn't like, the next day when I had the honor of sitting in front of him, in front of the federal building with him, in front of the federal building in Boston, they singled him out, tore his shirt off, bloodied him, beat him up, and arrested him again. It took 2 years before Congress cut off the money for that war, which is the only way it could have been ended. Nixon, not Carter, if Nixon hadn't faced impeachment and resigned, would have ended that war without Congress cutting off the money. And they would not have done that without a movement that convinced them by their passion, by their commitment, that those Congress people would be fired if they didn't carry out that demand. Obviously, 40 years later, there is no peace. We're entering the 11th year of a war in Afghanistan that is as hopelessly stalemated, bloody, hopeless, endless as Vietnam, if we leave it up to any president, Democrat or Republican. That one, but that's not all. We're ending the 9th year, coming on to the 10th year of the war in Iraq. We have undeclared wars where we're by drones in Yemen, in Pakistan, and an unconstitutionally entered war in Libya, which is now in its 7th month. And I was thinking today, I was remembering that in March, I seem to remember President Obama saying that our military involvement there would be days, not weeks. And then I thought that, and I thought, could that be right? Can I really be remembering that right? Did he really say that? Maybe it was weeks, not months, which would also be wrong, but less ridiculous. Months, not years. So I looked it up on Google just before I came, and by God, he did say days, not weeks. Okay, we will be in Iraq and Afghanistan indefinitely in there unless we, by the passion of people here in D.C. and Wall Street and around the country now, tell the president that tell the Congress that they've got to take these wars away from their presidents.